Welcome to Engineering Skill Models. I'm Jason, your host, and I do models and electronics. Today we're doing should be the last part of this SMD practice soldering board. We are doing 30-minute increments, and we're going to jump right into it. And I'll explain some of the rules as I go along here. Right now, we are going to solder some 603 resistors to this section right here. I'm going to put this in my board holder. Where we left off, we soldered on these Zener diodes and these 0402s, and they gave us a little bit of a headache. So we're actually going to swap the board around so we're not up against the edge of the we're not up against the edge of the board there. And then we're going to solder on the LEDs and be done. And then these two resistors that are missing. So we're going to go under the scope here. And for this, I am using where is it at? There we go. There they are. And for this, I am using a Hacko FX951 station with a FM2032 micro pencil with the 0.6 millimeter tip. Used a J tip in the last one. Now I'm switching back to the 0.6 millimeter tip. So what we're going to do is we're going to solder. We're going to go to the microscope, and we're going to add solder to these pads right here. And we're going to turn on the fume extractor because I forget to do that sometimes. Take off my tip. Don't need a lot. These are tiny components. These are 0603s. So we got our solder on there. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to rotate it this way. Those at the top there. And then I'm going to get my resistors out of their container here. This seems like the most time-consuming part of this process because I need to flip all the resistors in the right orientation. So this seems like, for me, is the most time-consuming spot, is getting all the resistors going the right way because I want them all going the right way. So we have the top of the board is this way, so the numbers are going to go upside down in the way we're positioning ourselves. So let's see if that's right. No, that's not right. So we need to flip that around. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, why aren't you adding flux to solder this resistor down? We will do that at the end here after we get these soldered in place. So there's one. That one's gone now. That's not good. They normally don't give us extras. Trying to grab another resistor here. Get it down. This is the part that is the trickiest. And you know, what I realized in making these videos is I don't sit here and solder this in one go. I do 30 minutes every morning to start my day. And it actually, you know, gets me in the zone to solder on a repair or a switch or an Xbox or whatever I'm soldering or working on that day. It does seem to get me prepared and, you know, get me in the zone per se to start my day. You don't have to do 30 minutes a day, but, you know, a few minutes here and there is not, you know, a little bit of practice never hurt anybody. So, all right, so we got that side on. We're going to flip it this way. We're going to add solder to the other side of these. Yes, I know we're missing one, but we're going to have to deal with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to add solder to these. Hopefully not too much like I did on that last one. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I got solder on all those. I have my hot air set to 480 at 40% airflow. I'm going to cover these in Kingbo RMA 218 flux. Like that, like a Lewis Rossman amount of flux right there. So I cover those in that flux, take my hot air gun, and we are going to hope that we can get this up to temperature. It's almost there. And we are going to blow these in here. I'm going to come in here slowly, warm them up. And then we are going to reflow all these joints with the flux that I put on the board. Get all these joints reflowed. Get all these resistors sitting pretty. There we go. So they all look pretty. Some of them have a little too much solder on it, but that can be fine. When we do the next step of this, it's going to work out just fine. So I'm going to take a little bit of flux remover and I'm going to clean that area. And I know we're missing a component. We'll deal with that. I think this is not quite going to be the last episode. We're going to do a testing short follow-up. Talk about it, make it all done on this one. But let's go over here to these LEDs now. Let's get this device adjusted. We can do these LEDs. Okay, so we have our LEDs up here. So I'm going to add solder to all of these legs, probably on this side here. Okay, two more. All right, so we got that. Now we're going to get our LEDs out. Put that like that. We're going to get our LEDs. Now, we got our LEDs here. Now we got to look at the back of them here. Where's it at? So it has, that goes this way. So you light it up. So I believe the green dot on the LED goes this way. So we're going to come in here and we're going to solder that on there. There we go, we got our LED. So in here, I think I broke that LED by overheating it and bending it. Maybe not. These LEDs are sensitive to heat. I'm going to use a lighter pair of tweezers. So all right. These are definitely a lot trickier. Not only are they small, but they are sensitive to the heat. I do have a trick that was shared to me by another YouTuber, the coder. Bill is the coder, and he is a fantastic help to everybody in the community. He helps promote my channel. A lot of you viewers have come over from the coder's channel, and I appreciate it. Bill does great work for the community. Does great work in general. He puts up with a lot of trolls, which is annoying because, you know, what can you do? So, 2 left, and we got exactly 2 left. I'm going to flip this over here. So go. All right, we got one more of these to go. And then we'll solder the other side. And hopefully we can do my little trick to reflow it. All right, so now we're going to come over here and we're going to solder the other side of these. It's the last two. Okay, so we got that done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace these 2 resistors. These are 1K resistors, I believe. 1, 0, and 1, 0. 100 ohm resistors. So I'm going to get my 0805 resistors out. And they are, so 1, 0, and 1, 0 is 100 ohm. So they are 100 ohm resistors. So I'm going to get 2 of those out. Get 2 of these 100 ohm resistors out to replace those 2. Yeah, they're the right size. Now, these are going to look a little bit different, but you know, what can you do? You only can do so much. So get those out of my component book, because these are actually needed to light the LEDs. So I'm going to come over here and get this in line up there. Grab a resistor. I'm going to put the resistor there. I hope so. Grab this resistor. And like that. And then I'm going to come in and add solder on either side of those two. There we go. And now I'm going to take this out of the board holder. Let me show you what I'm going to do. Still got plenty of time. It's only 16 minutes in. I'm going to take my Omni vise here, and I'm going to put this board in here like so. Just clamp it down there. And then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I don't know if I might be able to show you under the scope. Show you under the scope in this corner right here, because it's a little out of range. I'll put the scope in the top thing here, and I'll zoom out so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to take my hot air right here, and I'm going to come underneath the board. First, I'm going to add flux. Now, I have 1206 resistors on the bottom, so I'm not going to bump my airflow up to horrendous amounts, but I'm going to add flux to this. Nice amount of flux. And I'm going to flow this area right here to reflow these components in there. So the resistors have flown nicely. Let's get these LEDs here. There that one is. Let's get these all nice and flown. There we go. So we did that from underneath. So that should be all good to go. I'm not worried about the little resistor because that doesn't seem to appear to be in the circuit. That board is hot. So we'll get that out of our way. We'll put that on there. We will not be needing the scope for a little bit. We can turn off the fume extractor. Let this board cool down a little bit more because it is very hot. And we have roughly 18 minutes here. So I'm going to get on the power supply here. And let me get some test leads. Get a set of test leads for the power supply. I'm assuming that this is going to run off 5 volts. Test lead out on my test lead box. And I will get some alligator clips while this is cooling down. So the alligator clips are not in this one. So they must be in here. There they are. So there's negative and positive. This is a little bin for testing and probing stuff. So let's get this out here. We will plug this into our power supply. I don't have time to hook up the power supply to the screen because I didn't think we'd get this far. So I have it on 5 volts. I'll plug in the alligator clips, and then this board is cooled down. We're going to clean this board with some flux cleaner. Just going to give this board a nice scrub down, and we should be all good to go. And everything should work. I hope you guys enjoyed this series. If this works, this will be the end of the series. Clean off our brush. We'll get some isopropyl alcohol to displace the flux cleaner. Give a little bit of a more thorough scrubbing. That all done there like so. Clean off the brush. Grab us a clean room wipe and just soak up that stuff. Get that stuff off of that board. All right, so clean out that. All right, let's see if we can clip this on here without shorting anything out. We have minus right there. We have plus right there. So I don't think anything is shorting out. So let's zoom in on this and see what happens when I give it 5 volts. Stuff could be on backwards. If it is, we're going to diagnose it in the next video. Or I'm just going to end it here depending on how I feel. So we're turning on. All right, we're getting 5 volts out and nothing is happening. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so the leads. Okay, so I need different leads. So I'm going to unplug this and I'm going to plug in my probes. Okay, now let's turn on the power supply and let's do it this way. So we got plus here, negative here. So one LED lights up. So definitely something's not working. Wow. Every time I give it power, it randomly lights something different. But nothing happens when I hold the power on. Just one LED lights up. Okay, so let's check what happens if, oh, it's not a meter. So somewhere on here, I have an issue. Could be one of these transistors. Could be that chip. I don't even know what chip that is. Let's look and see what that chip that is. It's probably a 4017. Scope cables, hold on. It's probably a 4017. Yep, 4017, CD 4017. That is definitely soldered. And that is a 555 timer, so that is soldered. You know what? I think it needs that resistor. Because it looks like it has to go through that resistor. That would be weird. Well, first off, I put that chip in the wrong orientation. So that chip is in the wrong orientation. Pin 1 is, so that needs to be, pin 1 is here. and pin 1 goes over here. So this chip is wrong. That chip's correct because pin 1's there, but this needs to be rotated, so I have to fix that in the next video. But these transistors all look soldered. The Zeners are all going the right way. That's a little crooked, but I can reflow that, straighten it up. So I'm not sure. I don't see any traces on the back. They're all topside traces. So we're just going to have to trace it out. It's probably best to trace it back from the LEDs. So if we take this LED right here, this is going to be the ground bar. Comes through this resistor, all these resistors, down here, and it goes into the probably emitter of this, and then the base. This is probably the collector, and this is probably the base. And the base, all the bases are connected together, and they go to this pin of this chip, and they also go to a pin on the 555. So, all right. So I'm going to diagnose this in the next video. It's all soldered. It does light up, but it doesn't light up correctly. I don't know if it's a bad chip or what on that. I'm not sure. But I'm going to end this series here, and then I will do a separate video diagnosing this board as a follow-up. This was just to be 30 minutes of practice time soldering. And, you spend 30 minutes in the morning, or before you start your day repairing things. And then, it gets you a little bit honed in and, hone your skills and get you a little bit of practice. Because, I've soldered for 25 plus years and I practice all the time. I used a reflow oven most of the time. I didn't use an iron in my hand. So, or hot tweezers or whatnot. So it's good to change up your skill set. In the next part of the video, I have another one of these boards coming, and I am going to use this as a donor board, and then the other board I'm going to transplant every component on this board to the donor board, and we'll see how many we successfully transplant and how many pieces we have to add from our stock of parts. So that's going to be the next series. The series is going to be over. It's going to be a while before the next part comes out of this, of the transplanting, because I'm going to take a break from that and do some other things. But then I'm going to eventually transplant every component from this board to another identical board and see if we get it to work, and how many pieces we lose, how many components we lose in the process. But that's going to do it for this video in this series. Here are the links to my social media page. Here is a link to the Patreon page if you want to support the channel. I am almost at 1,000 subscribers. I may be at 1,000 subscribers when this video comes out. Thank you all for your support, and I greatly appreciate it. And I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Thank you.